What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and only a few days ago, we saw superstar Kevin Durant going at it on Twitter with one Shannon Sharpe, one of the most well-known NBA analysts. And KD has had his runs with the media before, but this is a very unique exchange. So if you didn't see what happened, Shannon Sharpe was Undisputed, and he basically put words in KD's mouth using a fake Photoshop quote. And to quickly summarize, Kevin Durant basically got mad that Shannon Sharpe was spreading misinformation. I think it's a reasonable claim for any reasonable person. Now the weird thing is Shannon Sharpe really did not issue an apology, he kind of skated around it, and instead opted to take the high road and not respond to KD on social media. So definitely a crazy interaction, but I think a lot of NBA fans missed the entire point when it came to this exchange. This was not about Kevin Durant versus Shannon Sharpe, this is about the larger problem in the NBA media and why sports media in particular has become so toxic. Now before I get into that, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure you do so. I put out 4 to 5 videos a week. Also, if you haven't liked this video, make sure you do so. That would help me out tremendously. So with that being said, let's get into the video. So starting out this video, I want to get into the big problem with the NBA media and media in general these days. And that primarily has to do with these commentators and analysts on ESPN as well as Fox Sports. Now regardless of which network you're talking about, you have people in both those companies invested in only one player, and they talk about one player every single day. Whether that be Skip Bayless with Tom Brady, Shannon with LeBron James, Nick Wright with LeBron James. I mean, there's a lot of media people who are solely invested in one player and pushing every narrative they can to elevate that player. And that is not a good place for sports media at this point in time, and I think Kevin Durant unknowingly kind of exposed that in the past, and in this exchange exposed it once again. Now a few years ago, Kevin Durant had an infamous quote where he said LeBron James' media is toxic, and I think most NBA fans would agree with that. Guys like Nick Wright, Colin Cowherd, Max Kellerman, and there's countless LeBron James defenders in the NBA media. It's almost nauseating at some points at how unobjective these people are. And I'm not saying you can't be a fan of a player, but for someone like Shannon Sharpe, a grown man who's 40, 50 years old, to be on national television every day, embarrassing himself by supporting LeBron James, it gets old and it's kind of hacky at some point. In the beginning, I would say it was very entertaining, but now 3 years later, it's kind of lost its luster. And the one thing about these TV personalities, it's all an act. And specifically with Shannon Sharpe, if you watch him on Undisputed and you watch him on NFL Network, it's two totally different people. On Undisputed, he's your crazy uncle, and on NFL Network, he's actually very articulate, he's still funny, but he actually deep dives into the game and explains things the average fan would not know. And I think the NBA in particular could benefit from Shannon being more like he is on NFL Network. I think the theatrics in the end get very old, but the analysis and the deep dives, those things are always entertaining and always interesting, at least for me. Now getting back to Kevin Durant, as you guys know, he's one of the most hated players in the NBA, in large part due to his move to Golden State. Almost 90% of NBA fans turned on him at that point, and it was pretty reasonable to do that at the time. But now 4 to 5 years later, I think any sane fan, you have to forgive the guy for his move. You can still hold it against him, but I think it's ridiculous to keep bringing that up and keep pounding away how Kevin Durant went to the Warriors. Now one other quote Kevin Durant had about the media and how biased they are is when he said that there are fanboys in the media. Now I kind of went over this before, but I think this issue is actually larger than that. If you look at the Undisputed and First Take topics every single day, I haven't watched these shows in nearly a year, but I can guarantee you the top 5 lead topics on a random day is going to be LeBron James, some kind of GOAT argument, the Dallas Cowboys, the Patriots, and Tom Brady. It's going to be those 5 things every single day on a loop for 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. And I think now we're seeing fans get sick of that. They're turning away from ESPN, they're turning away from Fox Sports, and they're coming to places like YouTube where people actually break down the games and give unbiased and actually objective opinions. And circling back one last time to the KD versus Shannon Sharpe interaction, it was baffling to me that Shannon Sharpe really did not apologize to Kevin Durant for spreading misinformation. But again, when you are this deep in the fandom of LeBron James or the fandom of someone like Tom Brady, you'll defend those players at all costs, and any players who are a threat to that guy, you'll tear down at every single point. Now this video is kind of short, but I want to make one last point regarding NBA media. In the coming years, this has to change. The setup of these shows, the same 5 topics every single day, the bias from some of these people in the media, guys who are invested in solely one player. And in the NBA in particular, they have to change this fast. LeBron James is 36, he has great longevity, but he's not going to play forever. And I'm actually kind of worried what they're going to talk about once LeBron retires. You can't have the GOAT debate every single day. You're going to have to find some new player to talk about. And yes, there are young superstars in the league, but nobody is as marketable and as talked about as LeBron James. I think we saw a similar effect with Jordan when he left the league. The viewership went down, the interest went down, and people were tuning out of the NBA. I think whenever LeBron decides to call it quits, I think we're going to see a big drop-off in the interest level of NBA fans. Of course, you have the hardcore fans who will always be there, but the casual fans who come back now and then, or LeBron James fans, most likely those people will stop watching the NBA in large part. And the ratings overall for the past 2 to 3 years have been on a steep nosedive, and that increased drastically in 2020. Now, if you want to debate why that is, there's a multitude of reasons, but overall I think it's acknowledged the NBA's TV ratings are taking a huge nosedive. So that right there was kind of my overall point of this video. I think when you have people in the media like Shannon Sharpe who are invested in one player only, it gets boring, it gets toxic, and it just gets flat out annoying to have one guy on TV supporting another guy every single day. Of course, you can be a fan of a player, I'm not saying you can't do that, but sometimes you just want them to tell it how it is and not have any bias or any motive or trying to support any narrative. So thank you guys for watching this video. I know the way I took the interaction between Shannon Sharpe and Kevin Durant was not the way many people took it, and it kind of was a rabbit hole to a larger discussion, but I think everyone in the NBA has to have a sit down and talk about these media people and the plans for the NBA post LeBron James. We have to start building up superstars like Zion Williamson, Giannis, Luka, all those guys. We have to start promoting them more and get rid of the toxic fans in the NBA media. Now, that is the end of this video, but in the comments, let me know what you guys think. Who was the winner of this interaction, Kevin Durant or Shannon Sharpe? Do you agree with me and think the NBA media and sports media in general have a huge problem going forward? And what do you think of the toxic fans in the media who only support one player and only support that player and his narratives? So as always, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time.